I always believed that people who cheat gave off some kind of sign. A change in routine, a cold tone, a suspicious smile. But when it happened to me, I didn't notice any of it. Maybe because I didn't want to. My name is Emily. I'm a 34-year-old nurse at St. Vincent's Hospital in Oregon. My husband, Ryan, worked as a physical therapist. We met in the hospital 7 years ago. Cliché, I know. He was helping a patient walk again and I was the nurse trying to keep the man from falling. Ryan smiled at me like he had known me forever. That same smile, I later realized, could convince anyone of anything. My best friend, Chloe, came into my life long before him. We met in college. She was loud, confident, effortlessly beautiful. The kind of woman who turned heads without trying. Where I was calm and observant, she was impulsive and bold. Somehow it worked. We were opposites, but she made my world brighter. When Ryan and I got married, Chloe was my maid of honor. He cried more than I did during the vows. At the time I thought it was love. Now I'm not sure what it was. For years the three of us were inseparable. Sunday barbecues, birthdays, random Friday nights with wine and Netflix. Chloe was practically family. She knew my schedule better than my coworkers did. She'd drop by our house when Ryan was home and I was working late. I just didn't want him to be alone, she once said, laughing. Thought it was sweet. Now I can't believe I ever saw it that way. It started with little things. Ryan's phone used to sit face up on the kitchen counter. Now it was always face down. He started locking it when he never used to. He became distant, not cold, just distracted. Whenever I'd asked, he'd say, "You don't understand how exhausting my patients are lately." But it wasn't just him. Chloe changed too. She stopped talking about her dates, stopped sharing the usual gossip. Every time I mentioned Ryan, she'd steer the conversation somewhere else. Once I caught her glancing at her phone mid-conversation and smiling in that soft, private way you smile when someone you like texts you. The worst part? I defended both of them. To myself. I told myself I was tired, paranoid, overthinking, like every woman does when something inside her screams that something's off but she's too scared to know the truth. One night I got off my shift early. It was pouring rain and I didn't call ahead. Ryan was supposed to be home. He'd said he was staying in to watch the game. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw Chloe's car parked across the street. My first instinct wasn't suspicion. It was comfort. I thought, oh, she must have come over to keep him company. I opened the door quietly. The TV was on low and I heard laughter from the kitchen. My heart did that weird flip, the one between fear and denial. I stepped forward, my shoes wet against the tile. Chloe's voice. Ryan's laugh. The sound of something, a soft clink of glasses, then silence. I almost said something. I almost called out her name. But I froze. Through the reflection of the microwave door I saw them. Chloe standing too close, Ryan's hand brushing her arm. Not an embrace, not a kiss. But too close. The kind of closeness that said this wasn't the first time. I backed away before they saw me. My hands were shaking and I could hear my pulse in my ears. When I finally drove off, I didn't know whether to cry or scream. Instead, I parked 2 blocks away and sat in the dark, trying to convince myself that maybe I'd misunderstood what I saw. The next day, Chloe texted me. "Hey, I stopped by last night to check on Ryan. He said you were working late. You okay? You've seemed off lately." I stared at the message for a long time. She knew exactly what she was doing. That was the moment I decided to stop being the quiet one. If there was a truth hiding behind those smiles, I was going to find it, no matter how much it broke me. After that night, everything started to look different. The house, his texts, even Chloe's smile. I began to see details I had ignored for months, maybe even years. The way Ryan's voice softened when he said her name. The way Chloe suddenly forgot to mention certain nights when she was supposedly out with friends. I told myself I was imagining things. That was easier than believing the truth. But once you see the crack, you can't unsee it. 2 days later, Ryan came home later than usual. He said he'd been helping a patient with after-hours therapy. I didn't question him, just nodded and handed him dinner. But as he ate, my eyes fell on the sleeve of his shirt. A faint shimmer of perfume, floral, not mine. Chloe's signature scent, the one she'd worn since college. Jasmine Noir. I felt something twist inside me, cold and sharp. Till I smiled. "Rough day?" I asked. He nodded, chewing slowly. "You know how it is. Back pain, old injuries, people who don't listen." "Yeah," I said softly. "I do." He looked up then, maybe sensing something in my tone, but I was already washing dishes, pretending everything was fine. I could hear my own heartbeat louder than the running water. The next morning I told Chloe I wanted to meet for coffee, something I hadn't done in weeks. She agreed instantly. When she walked into the cafe she looked nervous. Not guilty, not yet, but nervous. Her hair was perfectly done, her nails immaculate, her perfume the same, jasmine noir. We talked about nothing at first. Work, life, small talk. Then I leaned forward. "Chloe," I said quietly, "you and Ryan seem really close lately." She froze for half a second, too short for most people to notice, but I did. Her hand brushed the coffee cup, then she smiled. "Of course. He's your husband. He's like family to me." That word, family, made my skin crawl. I smiled back, fake as hell. "Yeah. Family." When I got home I couldn't take the silence anymore. I went through Ryan's phone while he showered, something I'd never done in our entire marriage. My hands trembled as I unlocked it with the code I'd seen him use 100 times. The messages were clean. Too clean. Whole conversations missing. Except for one that he'd forgotten to delete from his email. It was short and it wasn't enough to prove anything, but enough to make my stomach drop. From Chloe M. Subject: tonight. Body: same place as last time. Don't be late. No name. No context. No need for it. I felt sick. He got out of the shower, towel around his waist, humming like nothing had changed. And I stood there holding his phone, watching the water drip from his hair. "Ryan," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Where were you last night?" He blinked, caught off guard. "Work. I told you. Right?" I said softly. "With the same patient?" "Yeah," he said slowly, studying me now. "Why?" I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "No reason. Just making sure I remember your stories right." He hesitated, then shrugged, kissed my forehead and walked away. That kiss felt like poison. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the messages, the look on Chloe's face, the smell of her perfume on his shirt. Around 8 p.m., I drove past the small diner near the clinic where Ryan sometimes stopped after work. I didn't expect to see anything, but I did. His car. And hers. Parked side by side in the back lot, lights off, engines running. I froze, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight they hurt. They weren't even hiding it anymore. I wanted to storm out, to pound on the windows, to scream until they both had to look me in the eye. But I didn't. Instead I sat there in the dark, watching the two people I loved most sit together in silence, their faces dimly lit by the dashboard glow. A few minutes later her hand reached across the console. His followed. That was all I needed. I drove home and sat in the kitchen until the sun came up. The clock ticked louder than my thoughts. By the time Ryan came through the door, smelling faintly of her perfume again, I was done pretending. "You're late," I said quietly. "Traffic," he said. "Sure." He walked past me toward the bedroom. I stared at his back and realized something terrifying. I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt ready. Ready to make them both see that I wasn't as blind as they thought. The days after that night blurred together. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, smiled. It was automatic, like I was watching my own life from the outside. My body moved, my lips curved, but I was gone somewhere inside myself. Somewhere colder, quieter. Ryan started acting different too, overly gentle, almost rehearsed. He brought me flowers one morning just because. He sent texts during the day like he used to years ago. "Miss you already, can't wait to see you tonight." If I didn't know what I knew, I would have fallen for it. Chloe kept showing up too, bringing wine, gossiping about people I didn't care about, pretending nothing was wrong. But I could feel it, the way her eyes followed Ryan when he walked past us. The way she defended him too quickly when I made even a small complaint. One afternoon I came home early from the hospital. Ryan shouldn't be home yet. Chloe's car was parked outside. When I walked in she was in the kitchen laughing, with him. They both froze when they saw me. "Oh hey Em," she said too brightly. "I was just dropping off some soup for you." I glanced at the counter. No soup, just 2 glasses of wine. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "Chloe stopped by to ask about that fundraiser next week. You know, for the hospital." I didn't say anything. I just smiled and walked past them, pretending not to notice the faint lipstick stain on one of the glasses. Not mine, not his usual type either. I wasn't sure who I was angrier at. Him for lying or her for pretending to protect me. That night while Ryan slept I sat in the living room scrolling through his messages again. Still nothing. He had become smarter. So I went another route. I checked our shared credit card statement. There was a hotel charge from 3 nights earlier. Not one near his clinic. Not one near any hospital he'd ever worked at. My stomach dropped, but my hands were steady. For the first time in months, I felt a strange kind of calm, like my mind had finally accepted what my heart already knew. The next day I didn't go to work. I didn't even call in. I just drove to the hotel. I walked through the lobby, heart pounding, and asked for a copy of the receipt. The receptionist hesitated until I showed her the matching last name on the card. She slid it over discreetly. The name of the guest he checked in with hit me like a physical blow. The world tilted. I walked out into the sunlight, blinking, feeling a mix of fury and numb disbelief. Somehow knowing didn't make it better. It made it worse. Because that meant Chloe still came to my house, smiled at me, toasted with me, lied to me. That night I didn't confront Ryan. I waited. I wanted them both together. I wanted to see their faces at the same time, to watch the masks fall off. It happened 2 nights later. Chloe came over again, uninvited, carrying takeout and 2 bottles of wine. Ryan was already home. I let her in with a calm so cold it scared even me. We sat around the table, the 3 of us, like some twisted dinner party. They chatted, laughed, tried to pretend nothing was wrong. Halfway through dinner, I leaned back in my chair and said, "So, how's Melissa?" The sound of forks clattering against plates was deafening. Ryan froze. Chloe blinked, her mouth half open. "Who?" Ryan managed, voice trembling slightly. I smiled. "Melissa Smith. Physical therapist who worked at the hospital. You remember her, right? You had dinner with her at the Hilton on 4th Street 3 nights ago." Chloe's face went pale. Ryan's eyes darted between us. "Emily," he started. "No," I said sharply. Don't you dare lie to me again." He swallowed hard, his voice breaking. "It wasn't what you think." "Then tell me what it was," I said. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you took another woman to a hotel, paid with our joint card, and came home smelling like someone else's perfume." He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Chloe jumped in. "Emily, please," she said quickly. "He made a mistake, okay? You knew." My voice cracked, the words slicing through the air. Chloe froze. "You knew and you said nothing? You sat in my kitchen. You drank wine with me. You let me cry to you about how distant he was, and you knew." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was trying to protect you," she whispered. "Protect me?" I repeated, incredulous. "You protected him." Ryan stood, running his hands through his hair. "It meant nothing, Emily. I swear to God it was one time." "One time?" I laughed, bitter and hollow. "That's supposed to make it better?" He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't. Just don't." For a moment none of us spoke. The silence stretched until it felt suffocating. Then Chloe, her voice shaking, said the words that would haunt me for weeks. "He loves you, Emily. He needed someone who understood him." I stared at her, realization dawning. She wasn't defending him out of loyalty. She was defending him out of love. Something inside me snapped then, not in rage but in clarity. I looked at both of them, my husband who had betrayed me and my best friend who had betrayed me worse. And I realized, neither of them deserved my tears anymore. I picked up my keys from the counter and walked toward the door. Ryan followed me, voice desperate. "Emily, please. Don't throw away what we have." I turned to him one last time. "You already did." Then I looked at Chloe, pale, trembling, unable to meet my eyes, and whispered, "And you helped him." I continued looking at both of them. "I want you out of here. When I get back, I don't want any of your things here." I walked out. I didn't look back. When I returned, the house was empty. The week after I walked out felt like walking through fog. The silence of the apartment was almost peaceful. No footsteps, no fake apologies, no empty good mornings. Just me, my thoughts, and the sound of my own heartbeat finally steadying again. I didn't answer Ryan's calls. I didn't reply to his messages. At first they came every hour. Then once a day. Then they stopped. Chloe didn't stop. At first she texted, "Please talk to me." Then she showed up outside my house, leaving little notes by the door. "You misunderstood. I never meant to hurt you. Please let me explain." I ignored them all. Until one Sunday afternoon when I came home from the hospital exhausted and she was there, sitting on the steps, eyes red, hair a mess, holding a coffee like she'd been waiting for hours. "Emily," she said, standing quickly, her voice trembling. "Please, just 5 minutes." I could have walked away. God knows I wanted to. But there was something in her face. Not arrogance this time, not pity. Just raw, broken guilt. So I nodded once and unlocked the door. We sat on the couch. The same couch where we'd laughed 1,000 times before. It felt smaller now, suffocating almost. For a long moment neither of us spoke. Then she said softly, "I didn't tell you because I thought he'd end it." I stared at her. "You thought he'd end it? Chloe, he was sleeping with someone else. How was silence supposed to fix that?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Because I thought he loved me, Emily." The words hit like a physical blow. "What?" She wiped her face, her voice breaking. "I know how it sounds, but I thought if I didn't say anything, if I helped him hide it, maybe one day he'd realize I was the one who really cared about him." I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. "All those years," she continued, "I watched you two fight, and I saw the way he'd look at you like you were the center of his world. But him never saw me. I was just the friend. The extra." She let out a shaky breath. "And then one night after you'd had that big argument, he called me. He said he didn't know what to do anymore, that he felt trapped. I listened. I stayed by his side. And I told myself that was love." "Was it?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "No. It was jealousy. Stupid, selfish jealousy. I didn't want to hurt you, I swear I didn't. I just wanted him to need me the way he needed you." I sat there in silence, watching the woman I once called my sister crumble in front of me. "Do you love him?" I asked finally. She hesitated, then whispered, "I don't even know anymore." I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time I didn't see the friend who'd betrayed me. I saw someone so lost in her own emptiness that she mistook attention for love. Something inside me softened. Not forgiveness, not yet, but release. "You know," I said slowly, "for a long time I blamed myself. I thought maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I worked too much, maybe I wasn't exciting enough, maybe I didn't listen enough. But now I see it had nothing to do with me. You two were just broken in different ways and I got caught in the middle." Her sobs grew louder, her hands shaking. "I wish I could take it back." "You can't," I said gently. "And that's okay. Because I'm not taking any of it with me." She looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" I smiled, a tired, quiet smile. "I'm done carrying the weight of what you two did. I'm done being the one who hurt so everyone else can feel better." I stood up and walked to the door. She stayed on the couch, crying into her hands. I opened the door. She understood that I wanted her to leave. I watched her gather her things and walk out. She turned as if she wanted to say more, but I interrupted her and said, "You always thought I wasn't strong enough for him. But maybe I was just too strong to stay with someone who needed lies to feel loved." Then I closed the door. That night I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I just sat by my window watching the city lights blur through the glass, feeling something I hadn't felt in months: peace. In the weeks that followed I filed for divorce. Ryan didn't fight it. Maybe guilt had finally settled in. Maybe he knew he'd already lost me long before I walked out that door. I heard from mutual friends, against my will, that Ryan and Melissa broke things off the day I confronted him. It seems she enjoyed the thrill of being the other woman, and when I ended everything she lost interest. Ryan didn't end up with Chloe either. It turns out he never needed her. I moved into a smaller place near the hospital. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Every inch of it felt like breathing again. Sometimes when I walk home after a late shift I still think about the life I had. The one I thought was perfect. The laughter, the holidays, the plans. But I don't miss it anymore. I miss who I was before I started doubting my own worth. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting the pain, but reclaiming the parts of yourself that someone tried to make you believe were unlovable. So yeah, the day I lost my husband and my best friend wasn't the end of my story. It was the day I finally started living mine. And if you've ever been in that place, the place where your world falls apart and you think you'll never be whole again, trust me, you will. You just have to stop looking for closure from the ones who broke you. Sometimes, closure is simply walking away and never turning back. Because I didn't just lose them. I found me.
And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more narratives like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Leave a like if the story kept you hooked until the end, and share it with someone who also loves stories about family, relationships, revenge, business, and resilience. I'll see you in the next video with another incredible story. See you then.